Welcome to Rudolph and Sutton's Fire Safety and Fire Watch training program. You are in this training program because you have been assigned as a designated fire watch on your project. Fires cause over $500 million worth of damage each year. 90% of the time, human error is the direct cause. Fires can destroy job sites. You have been chosen to prevent this from happening. If you do not feel you're able to handle this responsibility, please notify your supervisor immediately. Fire combustion creates a chemical reaction using oxygen and creating carbon monoxide along with other toxic gases. The primary cause of death in a fire event is typically from the gases created, not the flames and heat. Fire prevention begins with understanding how a fire is created, the nature of a draft, and how being proactive can prevent a fire event from occurring. The information that you will learn in this training will assist you in being an effective and successful fire watch designee. In this training, you will learn the chemistry of fire, the different classifications of fire, the use of portable fire extinguishers, the proper way to oversee hot work area activities, and how to set up a fire watch station. You will also learn life safety and evacuation procedures in the event a fire gets out of control. Remember to review your site-specific emergency procedures plan after this training. As designated fire watch, you will be on the front line of our fire prevention team and play a critical role in preventing a fire before it becomes a deadly force of destruction. So, what is fire? Fire is made up of 4 components: oxygen, fuel, an ignition source, and a chemical chain reaction. Oxygen is naturally occurring, but can be found in concentrated or pressurized cylinders on job sites to be used for cutting torches. Also, pressurized oxygen piping can be found in hospitals and healthcare and research facilities. Fuel can be described as anything that will burn when exposed to heat and oxygen. It can be in a solid, liquid, or gas form. Some of the most common materials on a project are wood, paper, and flammable chemicals. The more fuel available, the larger a fire can be, and the quicker it can get out of control. Ignition sources can be any heat source. Some common ignition sources found on a job site are sparks from metal cutting tools, such as a chop saw or angle grinder, slag produced from welding or cutting torches, overheating of electrical equipment, both large and small, such as motors and equipment or power tools, and hot surfaces such as lights. The final component that causes a fire to start is the chemical chain reaction. When a flammable material, fuel, is surrounded by enough oxygen and exposed to heat or ignition source, a fire can start. It will continue to burn until one of these 3 components are eliminated to end the chemical reaction. Generally, fire extinguishers are a common tool used to eliminate at least one of the components of a fire. Fires are classified by type and are distinguished by the letters A, B, and C. Fire departments and fire equipment providers will classify a fire by the types of components that create it. Now, it's important to know the classes of fire before you attempt to extinguish one. Class A fires use wood, paper, cardboard, plastics, or rubber as the fuel source. A Class A fire will form embers that continue to burn even after the fire appears to be extinguished. It is important to make sure that the fire is completely extinguished and that the burned material is removed from a building to avoid startup of another fire. Class B fires involve flammable liquids such as gasoline, diesel oil, and flammable paints. Class B fires ignite easily and burn rapidly. The vapors given off by the liquid are heavier than air, which causes them to settle near floor level and drift into near areas, searching for another ignition source. Class C fires involve electrical equipment, electrical connections, and wiring. These fires are especially dangerous as they introduce additional electrical hazards such as arc flash and shocking. As mentioned earlier, fire extinguishers are a quick and effective way to fight a small fire because they eliminate one or more components of the fire. Fire extinguishers are classified by the type of fire they are equipped to extinguish. It is crucial to understand the classification of fires and fire extinguishers to be able to safely extinguish a fire. It is important to recognize that fire extinguishers are the first line of defense, but they are only effective for small fires. Extinguishers have a limited amount of range and extinguishing agents. Fire extinguishers should never be used on a fire if you're endangering yourself. Never put yourself or others at risk. Instead, notify your emergency response team immediately. All extinguishers must be clearly labeled by a letter and picture to show what type of fire they are effective against, and labels indicate the class and relative size of fire that they are designed to extinguish. The most popular and commonly found fire extinguisher is the ABC, or multi-class extinguisher. This fire extinguisher is designed for Class A, B, and C fires, and it's popular because it can put out multiple types of fires and reduces the risk of choosing the wrong type of extinguisher for the fire. The Rudolph and Sletten Yard provides Class ABC fire extinguishers in 5, 10, and 20-pound sizes. Note that the R&S, welding, torch cutting, and burning pre-task requires a 10-pound ABC fire extinguisher to be within 30 feet of the hot work area. Class A extinguishers are identified by a green triangle containing the letter A. These extinguishers typically consist of water and can be used to quench a fire. They can be used on fires involving wood, paper, and cardboard. In addition, Class A pressurized water extinguishers are also available from the R&S yard and come in a chrome cylinder. These Class A water extinguishers can be replenished on the job, while Class ABC extinguishers must be serviced by a certified fire extinguisher technician. And be aware that a Class A fire extinguisher is not to be used on a Class C electrical fire. Electricity can travel up the water stream and possibly shock and kill you. Class B extinguishers are identified by a red square containing the letter B. Class B extinguishers may contain dry chemical, carbon dioxide, or halon. These extinguishers are recommended for use on fires involving liquids and gases. Dry chemical extinguishers are the most common. They contain a powder-like substance that can smother a fire. Carbon dioxide, or CO2 extinguishers, displace the oxygen that is feeding a fire. Halon extinguishers interrupt the chemical reaction. Class C extinguishers are identified by a blue circle containing the letter C. These extinguishers are filled with an electrically non-conductive agent. They are designed for extinguishing electrical fires. If possible, have an electrician shut off the source of power before combating fire. Again, you can be severely injured or killed if you choose the wrong extinguisher in an electrical fire. The proper use of a fire extinguisher in a small fire will ensure your success of putting it out. Remembering the acronym PASS, or PASS, will help you when putting out a small fire. E, hold a pin and point at the fire source. A, aim low at the base of the fire. S, squeeze the handle to dispense the extinguishing agent. S, sweep from side to side with intermittent bursts to prevent the fire from spreading. You can advance towards the fire as being extinguished. Make sure to keep your back to the escape route in the event you must leave the area. Now that you have learned the chemistry of fire, classes of fire, classes of fire extinguishers, and how to properly extinguish a fire, let's talk about fire prevention. Prevention. An effective way to perform fire watch is to start with a complete survey of the surrounding area. Remember to own your zone and set up a fire watch station. This will be explained in a moment. Prior to going to your fire watch station, you are to make sure that everyone involved in cutting, burning, or welding activities have reviewed and signed the Rudolph and Sletten pre-task checklist. This must be completed and reviewed by all involved in the activity every 90 days. An approved hot work permit issued by Rudolph and Sletten is mandatory prior to any cutting, burning, or welding activities. As the designated fire watch, you have the authority to stop all hot work activities that are not properly planned or deviate from the pre-task or hot work permit. Fire prevention starts with a thorough survey of the work areas to ensure that the general housekeeping on the job site is sufficient. You will be given a checklist to assist you in the survey of the work area. Remember to reference the completed R&S welding, torching, and burning pre-task that is specific to this activity. All potential fuel sources such as wood, paper, panes, oxygen, acetylene cylinders, chemicals, debris, cardboard boxes, paper, tarps are to be removed prior to the start of any hot work. If fuel sources cannot be completely removed, they must be kept a minimum of 35 feet from the work area or locations where sparks or slag may land. Identify all locations where slag or fire may damage materials and equipment below. Keep in mind that falling slag and sparks of molten material can travel great distances and still remain hot. Also, remember that slag and sparks can be hot and remain an ignition source, although they may have hit the ground and appear to have cooled off. Multi-story buildings can present a challenge when acting as fire watch. All floors of the building must be checked and all fuel sources eliminated daily prior to the start of the hot work activity. In areas where sparks and slag may travel down the elevator shafts, the walls, exterior of the building, and floor openings, use fire blankets or other shielding systems to prevent igniting a fire below. Signage and barricades can be utilized to keep personnel away from falling sparks and slag. In some cases, such as debris falling to multiple floors, a hot work activity may require multiple people to be on the fire watch. Once a survey of the work area is complete, set up your fire watch station by inspecting your fire extinguishers. Follow the steps below to ensure each is fully charged and ready for use. The gauge check must have the arrow in the green, not under or over pressurized, in good condition, and free of damage. The pin has not been tampered with and the seal is in place. The hose is not plugged or damaged. Make sure to check the weight of the fire extinguisher to see if it seems accurate. Ensure the fire extinguisher has been serviced annually by checking the last service date on the card attached. Keep in mind that fire extinguishers have a 1-year service lifespan before they are required to be reserviced. Document your monthly inspection on the fire extinguisher tag or job file as required, and verify that the fire extinguisher type meets the requirements of the R&S pre-task and hot work permit. Remember that a 10-pound Class ABC fire extinguisher is required. In addition, please keep in mind the following notes and best practices below. A water extinguisher can be used in addition to a 10-pound Class ABC fire extinguisher for hot work. If water hoses are available, you can position them so they can be easily accessed, making sure to check the water source daily. You may be using fire blankets to protect equipment or materials, so make sure that there is a minimum of a 2-inch overlap between the blankets. Fire watch personnel and persons involved with hot work should be wearing leather, cotton, or wool clothing for protection. If someone's clothes catch fire, do not allow them to run. It may make the fire worse. Have them stop, drop, and roll. You can use a nearby jacket or fire blanket to help smother the fire. After your fire watch station has been established, get yourself to a safe location that is far enough away from the falling slag or fire, but in a position where you can see everything. Remember to own your zone. Never put yourself in a position where you cannot get to an extinguisher or an escape route in the event of a fire. Once the hot work is complete, the designated fire watch must stay a minimum of a half hour and repeatedly inspect the entire area to ensure that smoldering material does not catch fire. Look in areas such as wall cavities, debris piles, roofing, or waterproofing. There may be certain locations that you may be required to check every half hour for up to 4 hours after the hot work is completed. Some project clients will have their own fire watch requirements during and after the activity has been completed. Always follow the more stringent requirement. If you're working in an existing building or one near completion, note where fuel line shutoff valves are located. If the valves are locked or chained, Fire Watch is required to have access to those valves. Have a copy of the emergency phone numbers for the project. If phones are not available, have a radio or a way to contact someone to let them know there's an emergency. Pay attention to the location of existing fire alarms and ask if they're functioning. You may be able to use them as part of an evacuation warning system. Ask this question during the review of the RNS, welding, torch cutting, and burning pre-task, and/or during the review of the site-specific emergency procedures. In an evacuation, never use an elevator. Use only the stairs. If the stairway has a door, seal the door for heat. Never open a door that is hot. If your only escape route is a stairway and it is filled with smoke, you should back down the stairs on all fours as low to the ground as possible. If you get caught in a room, try to seal the cracks around the door. Use a radio or phone to let someone know your location and that you are trapped. Since toxic gases and heat usually rise, stay low to the ground. Exit to the designated meeting locations until a final head count is taken. Never go to your car or leave the job site unless you've been dismissed by an RNS emergency response team member. It is important to let your supervisor know that you are safe. People have died risking their lives looking for possible missing persons that had already escaped a burning building. If you or someone else is injured, notify Rudolph and Sletten personnel immediately. All job site safety coordinators, foremen, and superintendents are first aid and CPR trained. Fire prevention is the objective behind this Fire Watch training program, and you will be playing a vital role. You have been given an important responsibility in the prevention of large-scale destruction that fire can bring. Your dedicated efforts and vigilance will preserve job site property and the safety of others. Do not hesitate to ask questions or stop an operation that you believe to be unsafe. Understand that you have the full support of Rudolph and Sletten, and we expect you to be responsible, dedicated, and serious about your job duties as a Fire Watch. Only you can prevent fires, and we are depending on you. Own your zone.